Recently, the famous name called the AUKUS has been in the news and drawing a lot of attention for this trilateral security pact between Australia, UK and the US, starting with building Australia a nuclear-powered submarine, then to work together in the Indo-Pacific region, while the rise of the communist China is seen as an increasing threat, and also to develop wider technologies sharing between the three countries. The agreement also allows Australia to have access to artificial intelligence and quantum technologies from the US and the UK. Many countries are excited about this new development, except for two countries, France and China. The French Foreign Minister Drian called the pact a stab in the back and recalled its ambassadors from Australia and the US. China's Foreign Affairs Department spokesperson Zhao Lijian called the pact gravely undermines regional peace and stability. So why are these two governments reacting so extreme about this? What's behind this agreement anyway? We will explore this in today's episode. Welcome to Beyond the News, I'm Faye. Let's look at the Chinese government's reactions first. During the joint announcement of AUKUS on the 15th of September, one central theme consistent throughout the speeches made by Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the US President Joe Biden is that preserve security and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. It is pretty clear who this pact is targeting. That is the communist China. It is well known that Communist China's military aggression in the South China Sea has caused a lot of resentment from surrounding countries in the region. Now that Australia is going to have the nuclear-powered submarine, it will be countering China's aggression. Let's explore a bit deeper here. Why is the Chinese government so interested in the South China Sea? To talk about this, we first need to talk about China's nuclear submarine strategy. The Chinese government's ultimate goal is to take over America and dominate the world. To take over America, one key criterion is to have the nuclear strike capability against the US home soil. Only armed with an ability like this would the US be really careful to start a war with China. And a nuclear submarine carrying a nuclear warhead would be the key to achieve this goal. You might be asking, why can't China just shoot nuclear warheads from the ground or from airplanes? It is because such attacks would be easily intercepted by the US anti-missile systems. But a submarine can sneak at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean and go to a place close enough to the US and then attack the US. Therefore, if China could maintain some sort of deep-sea military base in the South China Sea, it means China would have the ability to successfully attack the US with submarines. If we look at the map, there are only two ways a Chinese submarine can go to the Pacific Ocean. One way is through the sea at the gap between Taiwan and Japan, and the other way is through the South China Sea. The path between Taiwan and Japan is a no-go for China because Japan and the US had been monitoring that region closely with submarines and surveillance. So the only way left for Chinese submarines to get to the Pacific Ocean is through the South China Sea. This is the reason behind China's usually high interest in the region and why they are building many military bases there. Well, apart from the rich natural resources in the area. So what would happen if Australia develops a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines? That would mean two things. First, the US can use Australia as a backup and access its submarine base nearby. Second, Australia will have the ability to destroy China's deep-water military base in the South China Sea. Furthermore, Australian submarines would block China's access to the gateway to the Pacific Ocean via the South China Sea and track them directly. This AUKUS is an effective way to block the Chinese government's desire to conduct a nuclear attack on American soil. Now you can understand why China was so angry at this AUKUS. Let's now move on to France. There are a few reasons why France was upset about the decision. One is because the new pact scrapped the diesel submarine deal Australia signed with France 5 years ago. Back in 2016, the Australian government signed a 50 billion Australian dollars deal with the French firm Naval Group to design a new generation of submarines to replace Australia's current Collins-class submarines. So yeah, the Aussies were trying to replace the older diesel submarines with newer diesel submarines. Money not well spent there, not in this age, mate. What's more, in the past 5 years, the deal had created tension between the two countries behind the scenes, due to various delays and overruns, and the cost had since blown up to 90 billion Australian dollars. Since the AUKUS was formed, Australia cancelled the deal, but the French have already spent about 2.4 billion US dollars on the project. The poor frogs. The second reason being France felt left out in the AUKUS. France has always been a big player in the Indo-Pacific region with multiple overseas territories covering more than 100 islands. The fact that the AUKUS doesn't include them made France very upset. So why wasn't France being included? The main reason being the French government's limited understanding of China's aggression. The French President Macron had been openly downplaying the threat from China. During a NATO meeting in June this year, Macron said that China issue is not the priority and called the European countries not to align with the US policy in countering China. And it was reported that Macron played a major role in pushing the EU-China trade deal. In other words, France and the whole European Union are still hoping to get economic benefits from China instead of countering China head-on. This is a key reason why Australia, UK and the US kept the whole thing secret from France and even the whole European Union. Right now, many of the media reports that this trilateral alliance pact might be damaging the trust from their European allies. However, since many European countries are still cozying up with the Communist China, this is unavoidable. What's your thought on this new deal, AUKUS? Let me know in the comment below. Alright, that's all for today. If you liked today's show, please like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you for watching Beyond the News. I'm Faye. I'll see you again very soon.